Week 8 is officially Bye-Pocalypse with teams like the Cardinals, the Lions, the Jags, the Raiders, the Rams, and the Seahawks all on bye this week. And I cannot tell you how important fantasy defense is in Bye-Pocalypse. So we're going through the top 12 defense rankings for Week 8 fantasy football now. And I'm one of the only fantasy YouTubers who covers defense multiple times a week. So please go down there, drop a like on the video, and subscribe to the channel to show your support. Now getting into our first tier, I've got two defenses in this first tier, and I'll explain why in a little bit. So I've got the Colts defense at number 1, and they're taking on the Tennessee Titans at home. Now listen, I think the Colts defense is in this position to where if you just look at their entire season, they've been fantastic from a defensive perspective. They're the number 3 defense on the season. They've got 19 total sacks. They've got 9 interceptions, which means they're taking the ball away from you and applying pressure to your quarterback, which are major stats for fantasy football defenses. They've had a pretty easy schedule up to this point, and of course on the surface, Tennessee is a fantastic matchup. Cam Ward, I want to like the guy, he's just not playing good. And I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. Now, we can dispute what's the cause of it. Is it the coaching staff? Is it the organization around him? Is it the lack of weapons, the offensive line? Whatever the case is, they're not playing good football right now. So there's definitely an opportunity for them to take the ball away from Cam Ward and get after him up front. I will say this, the only reason I considered having them at number 2 is because divisional matchups can get weird. But I do think just the way Tennessee played last week, the first week without their coach, they don't look inspired to really make any changes and do anything different. I got the Indianapolis Colts at number 1, continuing their role as a team as a whole this year. They've been fantastic. The number 2 defense to round out this tier is the Patriots defense, and they're taking on the Cleveland Browns. Now again, the reason I just didn't put them at number 1 is because Tennessee is just more prone to turning the ball over. But a good defense like the Patriots is going to recognize one thing that I said heading into this past week about the Browns. When you watch the Browns, all you have to do is key in on stopping one guy, and his name is Quinshon Judkins. The Patriots are too smart to not recognize this. The Patriots have a defense led by Mike Vrabel that's done very well in fantasy already. They're the number 2 defense in fantasy football, and the only problem with them is they're not getting as many splash plays. 18 sacks this year, 5 interceptions. They've got 4 forced fumbles and 4 fumble recoveries. That's not that great. But what's getting them there is holding teams to very few points because their schedule just hasn't been very good. And again, the Browns are not a team that's going to put up a ton of points, except if they're playing the Dolphins, I guess. But the Patriots are not the Dolphins. They know what they're doing up front. The Patriots are going to know how to handle the Browns. They key in on stopping Judkins, and then they make Dylan Gabriel beat them. It's not going to be a good day for Cleveland in New England. Now, dropping down to our next tier, I have the 49ers defense at number 3, and they're taking on the Houston Texans in Houston. So if you watched that game last night, for you East Coast people, that was a late game. Like even for me in Central time zones, I was asleep like right after that game. I was planning on going live to do what I got right and wrong. That game ended at like 12:30. It was really, really late. So this game was atrocious for the Houston Texans. I mean, they were absolutely abysmal. They couldn't move the ball. That's always been the Texans' problem this year because their offensive line is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life. It's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. They can't protect him. And against good defenses, they will take advantage of that. The 49ers are playing with nobodies, playing with practice squad guys, arena football guys, and they're getting it done. They just hounded Atlanta in Michael Penix all game last game. They're going to do the same against the Texans, man. Even in Houston, I think the Texans coming off a short week, getting back into Houston basically at like 5 in the morning, and then having to start the day again already today, they're at a disadvantage here versus the 49ers, and they have a good defense with Robert Saleh, so I'm going to bank on that defense. The Falcons defense is at number 4. Originally, we're at number 3, and I put the 49ers over them after watching the Texans play, but the Falcons are playing the Dolphins, and I do believe they will end up being a good play, but the reason I move them down, there's 2 reasons. Number 1, Miami can play in a dome, and Atlanta is playing in a dome this week. They're at home. Atlanta's got a dome. Miami can play when the weather is not bad. Miami looked terrible last week because the weather in Cleveland was absolutely atrocious. Miami's not an all-weather team. They're a dome team and a warm weather team. The number 2 reason I did is because the Falcons themselves are a mess too. Like this team, yes, they have better moments than the Miami Dolphins. They have more talent than the Miami Dolphins, but they had 10 guys out there on a key third down play against the 49ers last week. They're not that well coached. So I do have concerns, and I could see this one going a little bit south if the Dolphins have one last stand for Mike McDaniel as their head coach and put up like 27 points. That's not out of the realm of possibility, but I'm going to stick with this being a top 5 play. And the Bucs defense is at number 5 to round up this tier, and they're going to New Orleans to take on the Saints. Now, they're also at a little bit of a disadvantage here. They went to Detroit, but they're coming back to Tampa, and I just think that the Saints offense is just not very good. And you know, the one thing I've been saying about the Saints offense all year is that their offense is in this position to where they haven't been turning the ball over much. They were actually running really efficient and just not being able to score many points because their offense just couldn't get it done. They don't have enough talent offensively. So for the majority of the season, the story was they have enough talent to get like 20 points maybe on a weekly basis, but that's about it. But they're not turning the ball over. Now they're turning the ball over. Spencer Rattler is trying to prove himself. It's not working out very well. And the Bucs defense, they're an excellent blitzing team. They have 20 sacks this year, and it forces bad decisions such as turnovers, and they have 5 interceptions this year. I think the Bucs end up getting after Spencer Rattler and making him make the bad decisions. So big news, guys. FS Roundup was down temporarily yesterday. It is back up, and now everybody can get access to the new price point, which dropped from $8.88 a month to $6 per month flat fee, which makes that everybody, including all customers that were existing, you can get access and claim the new price point right now by re-entering all of your payment information. And for those of you who are on the fence, deciding maybe I want to do this, maybe I don't want to do this, it's now at a cheaper price point for you to be able to afford it wherever you live in the world. You get access to my weekly top 250 rankings, access to the automatic waiver wire tool. There's tons of elite features on the site you're getting access to now, and you want to make sure you claim the top defense in our waiver wire tool. Make sure you do that by avoiding looking like a guy like this.
Ted desperately needs to pick up a new running back, or his fantasy team is toast. And losing his season again means one thing. Oh, no. Don't be Ted. Automate your waiver pickups with Fantasy Football Roundup.
Now, dropping down to our next tier, I've got the Bengals defense at number 6, and the only reason is because they're taking on the Jets, who are absolutely circling the toilet. It's in Cincinnati. There's not much to say about the Bengals defense. Everybody understands this. They're atrocious. They're the number 31 defense in fantasy. They have 11 sacks heading into week 8. Now, this is hoping that Trey Hendrickson is going to come back in this game after basically a mini bye week. But they do have 8 interceptions, which I do think is very noteworthy here, because whether it's Tyrod Taylor or whether it's Justin Fields, they will make mistakes in this game. And realistically, can you see them putting up more than 10 to 13 points without Garrett Wilson and possibly without Breece Hall? I cannot see that. I don't know how this isn't a solid play just based off the fact that they won't move the ball enough. I don't think that they will move the ball well at all, and I think that the Bengals actually have a very weird blip in their schedule right here to where they could be a top 10 to top 5 defense this week. Bengals at 6. Texans at 7 versus the San Francisco 49ers. This matchup, again, not my favorite. I think the 49ers offense clearly can get the job done. I mean, they've been doing it with Mac Jones without a bunch of their receivers, and that's probably going to be the case again. Maybe Ricky Pearsall comes back. Maybe Brock Purdy comes back. But I will tell you this, man. The Texans defense, I was talking to a buddy last night during the game, and I was telling him, I love y'all's defense because he's a Texans fan. And I was saying to him, I overrank y'all's defense because y'all have so much talent defensively, but your offense is doing everything to make your defense worse in fantasy. Even last night, they played a good fantasy game when the Seahawks had 27 points on the board. The Texans defense is for real. 14 sacks, 7 interceptions this year, 4 forced fumbles. This is a real defense right here. So even if the 49ers put up 20 points in this game, I could see them getting turnovers off of Mac Jones and sacks in this game, and that's why the Texans are at 7. The Chargers defense at number 8, and the Vikings are at 9, and they're playing each other in the Minnesota Vikings home stadium. Now, again, the Chargers defense has had nothing but injuries, man. They did get one key piece back, though, and that was Khalil Mack. Now, that didn't make much of a difference versus the Indianapolis Colts offense, who looks insanely good right now. But this is a different story against the Minnesota Vikings offense. Carson Wentz is just not that good. And J.J. McCarthy, he may be better than him, but that's only because J.J. stinks. But I think Carson Wentz is not much better because he's just not that good of a player. Now, they have so much talent offensively that they're going to move the ball and they're going to score points. But I think if the Chargers can get an interception or two off of Carson Wentz, which is very possible the way he makes decisions, this could be a solid play if they hold them to 20 points or so. And then the Vikings defense at number 9, the Chargers offense, like, the problem with them is they can score points. Like, the Chargers can put up 30 points easily on the Vikings. But the Vikings defense is very, very tough. Brian Flores is an excellent defensive coordinator. I do think that they are in a position to where they can get sacks against a weaker offensive line and take advantage of Justin Herbert and maybe make him throw an interception or two in this game as well. So this is mostly me just banking on a really good defense that's run by an excellent defensive coordinator against a really tough matchup. And again, Bipocalypse affects a lot of these defense rankings as well. Now, dropping down to our last tier, the Broncos defense made it inside the top 10, and they're playing Dallas. This is an ill-advised tier. This is only because Bipocalypse really affects defense rankings as well. You may see it affect wide receiver rankings, running back rankings. Well, it affects defenses too. This is an ill-advised play versus the Dallas Cowboys defense. They can put up points, and the Broncos just gave up 33 points to the Giants. But this is a team at the same time that had a really good fantasy day because they get after your quarterback like insanely well. It's insane how much the Broncos can rush the passer. They have a total of 34 sacks on the season. They're early front runners to lead the NFL in sacks, but they don't do much else. 2 interceptions and 3 forced fumbles. They're going to get after Dak. And that's the saving grace here because even if Dallas puts up 24 points, they will have enough sacks in this game to be a top 10 fantasy defense, in my opinion. The Bills defense is at 11, and they're taking on the Panthers. Now, the Panthers in this game looks like they're going to be without Bryce Young, which could be good or bad. I don't think this one is automatically bad because I think Andy Dalton is a better passer than Bryce Young. But I do think he doesn't have the same mobility, so if the Bills can create some pressure coming out of the bye, it could be a good opportunity here. The Bills' defense has been really, really bad in fantasy, though. They need to up that sack number from 15 to about 20 this week. They need to get 5 sacks on this one to make it relevant. But we know that the Panthers are a very, very hot and cold team, and I do think that with the immobility of Andy Dalton, the Bills could get after them and create several sacks in this game. And then the Packers defense is at 12, and they're going to Pittsburgh on Sunday night to take on the Steelers. I think that this game could go a lot of different ways. Aaron Rodgers, you know, is going to want to show up Green Bay in this game. They could do that. Now, I will say this. The Packers defense had an encouraging week against the Arizona Cardinals. They got after Jacoby Brissett, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't move well either. So the offensive line in Pittsburgh already shaky. If they can get sacks in this game, they can force turnovers as well. And especially if it's a shootout, Aaron Rodgers will make mistakes in a shootout. So if the Packers put up more than 24 points in this game, this could become a really decent play against the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. So let me know what you think of the rankings in the comments below. And if you want to see this week's buy low candidates before week 8, click on this video right here.